Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name's Janice and I'm a Thermomix consultant. Today we're making bread, but last video I said we were going to have a competition and I wanted you to guess when I was wearing a new apron, but I'm going to be wearing a new apron over the next few videos, so I mean it's pretty obvious that every video is going to be a new apron. So what you've got to do is you've got to comment, you've got to guess where I bought the apron. First person in the comments with the correct guess wins either a recipe book or a magazine. Now this video it is going to be the recipe book, and then for the rest it is going to be the Thermomix magazine, and it's the current one. It's just actually now nearly finished. It's no longer available from the mix shop. There may still be some copies left in the supermarkets and newsagents, but you can no longer get it from the mix shop. But anyway, I thought I would make bread. Now I recently did a Zoom, it was a cooking class, and it was a basic cooking class, and I just thought I would join to see if there was anything that I could still learn, because even if there's things that I have already learnt, I may have forgotten them, and it was in fact the case. And it was about using your thermoserver to prove your bread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the bread and then we'll talk about it. So I've got the recipe saved into my week, and it is the basic bread mix. So one thing I did find out is that because I've been making so much sourdough, this is my last bag of whole wheat, so I'm going to have to get some more. So start cooking. First up, we're going to weigh in 100 grams of these wheat grains. And how I keep these is I buy them like 3 or 4 bags at a time, and then I put them in the freezer, and that makes sure that they last longer, and also there's no weevils or bugs appearing in my and I do that with flour, anything that you can get weevils or pantry moths in. I toss in the freezer, and just it doesn't have to be forever. I mean, 2 days, a week. It doesn't have to be forever. It just to kill anything that's in there, and then any eggs that are in there so they don't hatch. Rightio. So now next, and we're going to mill those grains. So rightio, a minute on speed 9. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. Got to wait for the arms to release. Okay. Now I'll just show you. That is our whole wheat flour. And now we're going to put water, so 300 grams of water. I don't know, oh, there's 300 grams in there. Perfect. 2 teaspoons of yeast. Now I've got dried yeast, and this is just this is dried instant yeast that I get from the supermarket, and I keep this in the fridge. Now we're just going to make sure we're not putting the yeast on top of the the blades, otherwise it doesn't get wet and it doesn't activate. Okay. 2 minutes, 37 degrees, speed 1. So what I'm going to do is a couple of things I picked up were sorry, I just remembered I needed my Thermomix. So the couple of things I picked up were what I've done here is I have got my thermoserver and I've filled it up with hot water and I've got the lid on, and when you put your hand on there, that is quite warm. So what I'm going to do is I will wrap my bread in the Thermomix, put it on top of the thermoserver, and that will give it a nice warm spot to rise in. It's like, you know, in the winter, like usually in the summer it rises pretty quickly, but in the winter sometimes it can be a bit slow. And the other thing I got was, now I do this all the time. And what I want to go back to saying is I used to do this a lot. But once I got the TM6, and if it's a bit cold, I just put it in the Varoma basket and use the ferment mode. So because I've had my TM6 for that long, I was no longer doing it this way, and so I had forgotten about it. So it was really good doing that that quick Zoom cooking class, because I mean these are the things that I want to share with you. I mean, in case you don't know about it. So, and the other thing is, there's been people saying their bread gets stuck in this in the Thermomix bread tin, and they say it's supposed to be you don't have to grease it. Now, people put oil in. I find if you put oil in, the bread gets stuck. I use butter. I get the butter, I grease it well with butter, and yes, I do wash my Thermomix, this bread tin thing, the bread tin from the mix shop. Yes, I do wash it. I don't use laundry. I don't use dishwashing liquid. I just rinse it with warm water under the tap and then dry it extremely well. And then when I'm going to cook bread in it, I butter it. I don't butter and flour it. I don't grease and flour it. If you do that, the bread will get stuck. But just a nice bit of butter in there, and I don't know what the difference is, but with oil the bread gets stuck. If you use butter, it doesn't. So rightio. So we're going to move on with our bread here. And we want 20 grams. Okay. And I'll just show you in there. I mean, the yeast is all mixed into the water. It's all combined with the water. 400 to 420 grams of baker's flour. Now I put the 400 in because I figure I'm going to use however much on the thing when I knead it up. So I'm going to be mixing more water in. And 20 grams is around a tablespoon of flour, so it's not much. And this is a 1 cup measure. I didn't. Here we go. because I've used 2 cups of flour, this is not in the recipe, but I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of the bread improver. Now I find the bread improver is good. It helps your bread keep a little bit longer, and it's just gives, I like it, sort of gives you a softer dough, a softer bread. And 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, we want to add the reserved wheat flour. And now we're going to knead this. I'm going to mix it, sorry, for 6 seconds. And then when it says to keep the measuring cup inserted, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape down the sides. I want the lid. See, it's quite wet. Okay. And then I'm going to just push that wet stuff down from the top. When it's kneading, it does pick up a lot of that. But I just find this just makes it a little bit better. Okay. And now we're going to knead it for 2 minutes. Rightio, I will be back. I've just taken the lid off that to let it cool a bit because it was quite hot on top, so I didn't want it quite that hot under my bread. There we go. I'll be back in a minute. Rightio, so I put the stuff, I put a few things in. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on top of this here quickly. That's probably a bit much, but anyway. And we'll go to next. So it says to transfer the bread onto a silicone bread mat. So let's just see. That's still a bit there, and it hasn't kneaded it right up the side. So that's why I like to give it a scrape down, just to make sure I get as much of the liquid as possible. Okay. Alright, perfect. I'm not gonna. And what I will do is I will run the dough pre-wash, and that cleans it up beautifully. But in the meantime, I'm going to give this a knead so it's a nice smooth ball. Okay. I just want my little measuring cup back to put that. I said put a bit much flour on there, but I'll use this with the when I shape the loaf. Right. Now I'm going to just wrap that up in my Thermomat. Oops. Then pop it on top of here and leave it to rise. Okay, and it says blah, blah. Let prove in a warm place until doubled in size, approximately 30 minutes. So I will be back once this is doubled in size, and we'll continue. Okay, I meant to time it to tell you how long this took. But it hasn't been 30 minutes. So what I used to always do was just fill it with hot water from the tap. I used to just fill the thermoserver with hot water from the tap. And today I filled it with boiling water because I knew I was going to be faffing around a bit before I got to make the bread. But it was a little, I took the lid off to let some heat out because it was very hot on top. But it stays. Your thermoserver, you've got a couple of hours before it loses heat. I'm just looking for my dough cutter. This thing, right here. I'll just knock this down. So that was, it says it takes 30 minutes to rise, but in the winter time, sometimes it can take a bit longer. So, and usually when I'm making bread, I'm not in a rush. I'm just, chilling, doing a bit of cooking around doing a bit of cooking, which I absolutely love doing. But in winter, it takes ages for the risers. So, that's just a little tip. So what I've done here is what I normally do, and that is I split the dough into 3 pieces. They don't have to be exact. They don't have to all be the same size. They generally tend to be around about the same size. I think this one's smaller. Okay, and then I'm going to line them up in here. Oh, I'll take mine. Just like that. And I'm going to wrap this in my Thermomix. Let's move that along a bit more. I just want to get it so it's tucked underneath. And then I'm going to pop this back on top because that is still quite warm. I'm going to pop that back on top and leave it to rise. So it says preheat the oven to 200, grease a deep-sided loaf tin with butter. See, this also says to grease with butter. Knock down and then let it prove in a warm place for a further 20 minutes. So what I do is I wait until it's filled the tin. I pat it down enough that I can get the lid on, and then we bake it. So I'll be back when I'm ready to put it in the oven. Rightio, so I've left that to prove, and I let it go a little bit higher than the top. So you can just pop that in the oven and bake it as it is, or you can put the lid on. Now, I like to put the lid on, and what I do is I let it rise up so it's just above the top, and then I just pat it down. Not too hard, just to push it down below the level of the tin. The lid slides on. I've got the oven preheating at 200 degrees. And then we're going to bake it for 20 to 30 minutes or until golden brown. And then I'll check it at 20 minutes. I'll take the lid off, I'll see if it sounds hollow. If it doesn't, I'll pop it back in, and then I'll be back once we're ready to slice the bread. Rightio, I've burnt my arm on the tin, getting it out, getting the lid off to check it. If it was cooked at 20 minutes, I gave it another 10. It wasn't quite cooked. And then I've left it sit on the bench for, it says 5 minutes, but it's been 10, which means it's probably sweated a little bit more than it should. But that also helps it tip out. There you go. Perfect. So it is, usually I take it out at 5 because it does, but it should crisp back up a bit. And that's your bread. And they're my tips for bread making. You butter your tin, you don't oil it. I mean, some people's, they don't need to do anything. But if your bread is sticking and you feel you need to grease it, use butter, don't use oil. And the other one was, if the weather's cold, or if you want to hurry up your rising, if you just fill up your thermoserver with hot water from the tap and then prove your bread on the lid. Put the lid on and prove your bread on the lid. And that gives you a nice warm environment for proving your bread. Rightio. Rightio. So just letting you know that the competition to win the cookbook, this is this video, and this is the one we've got, and it's Thermomix, Creating Something Incredible. I will mail it to you, and it's not specific to Australia. First person to get to guess correctly what country I got this apron from. I started off with an easy one. Wins the cookbook, and then we will have a chat. We'll get in contact with you and get your mailing address. It will cost you nothing. I'll cover the postage. So if anyone contacts you and says that you've won and you have to give them money, it's a scam. I'm not going to charge you for postage. I will let you know if you've won, and we'll private message and you can give me your mailing address. Rightio? Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please give it a thumbs up, pop over to my channel and subscribe, and I really hope I'll see you next time.